On this episode, I'm back with our Journey into Imagination series as I sit down with Jon from Love Our Life Vlog. Today is August 23rd, 2024, and this is episode 695 of the Main Street Magic Podcast.
Jeremy and Rhonda are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts, Main Street Magic's bringing it home for you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Main Street Magic. I'm your host, Jeremy Stein, and while I will not be joined by my lovely wife today, I will soon be joined by my new friend, Jon, from the Love Our Life Vlog. But first, make sure you check us out on the web at mainstmagic.com, as well as follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at mainstmagic, and on TikTok at MSM Podcast. If you want to be part of the community and join the conversation, in addition to live streams from the parks and our weekly live show, head to Facebook and search for the Main Street Magic community and ask to join. And then don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you get brand new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. Planning a trip to Disneyland or Walt Disney World can be overwhelming and at times just downright frustrating. But don't worry, because Mouse Dining removes the frustration for booking Disney dining reservations, alerting you when they spot availability for your desired restaurant, date, meal, and time. Visit msmfriends.com to use this free service. Jon and Angie made the bold decision to move to the doorsteps of Central Florida to be closer to the theme parks they love and get more serious about their Love Our Life vlog, which covers Universal Orlando and Disney World to help be your tour guides for your next vacation. Let's welcome Jon to the Main Street Magic Podcast. Jon, thank you so much for joining me today. It's good to finally meet you, and welcome to the Main Street Magic Podcast.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so we're going to talk all about content creation and more today. But the first thing I always like to ask is, where does your love of all things theme parks come from? Did you grow up around them? Is it just something more in your adult life? Like, where does that love stem from?
Well, I'm really glad you asked, because I really don't get to talk about this much on the channel. But when I was a kid, my mom and dad took us to Universal Studios, Florida. And that was my first real memory of theme parks. I think, I was 6, and I remember going on Confrontation. That's a throwback, to Universal. And I remember being so scared of that ride, and my dad was like, "Yeah, you'll be okay, you'll be okay," like almost kind of forcing me to go on it, you know. And then ever since then, I fell in love with it, and I've been a huge fan ever since. We were more of a growing up. We were more of a Universal family. We did go to Disney once or twice, but I didn't really become a huge Disney person until I got married. So, kind of interesting how that works, because I was always used to going to Universal all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Maryland. Did you grow up in Florida?
Mm-hmm. No, I grew up in Tennessee.
Okay.
Southeast Tennessee.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, growing up in Maryland, we visited, Disney. We never visited Universal. But still, same thing. I didn't get into it, huge into Disney until I got married. Of course, Rhonda's from Florida, so she grew up going to Disney, all the time. So it's interesting the way that comes out. So you grow up a theme park fan since you're 6. You love Universal, you love Disney. I know you go to SeaWorld as well. What made you decide that you wanted to get into content creation and creating this YouTube channel?
So my wife and I, Angie, who's on the channel a lot as well, she had suggested, we were living in Tennessee at the time, and she had suggested, she's like, we could do what some of our favorite theme park vloggers do, because we had, I guess I should go back just a second, that we had, I really didn't have much of a history of Disney. And then I knew things, like I'd been to Magic Kingdom. I'd always wanted to go to Epcot. I had never been to Epcot at that point. And we started watching YouTubers and going to theme parks and stuff. And she was like, why don't we do that here in Tennessee? So off air, I didn't mention this to you, but we also went to Dollywood a lot. That was our first, if you look up on our YouTube channel and go all the way to our oldest videos, there's several Dollywood videos. But we lived in Southeast Tennessee, which is an hour and a half to 2 hours from Dollywood. And there's a lot of mountains. There's a lot of mom and pop shops. And there's just not a lot to vlog and to be passionate about.
Yeah.
And the more that we came down here, the more we were like, you know, like what if? And I remember Angie and I were filming a video at this place in North Carolina. It was like this like big Ten Commandments place or something like that. And I said, I said, I'm going to throw this out here. I was like, I'm just going to throw it out. What if we move to Orlando?
Wow.
And her first reaction was, I don't know. It's like, it's a huge, huge move. It's so much more expensive here than it was there, and it's just like all these things connected. So pretty much like watching others is what kind of gave us like, hey, we want to do that. We think we have some interesting takes on things, and like we
Yeah.
feel like we can do it. So that was pretty much what started it. And I've always wanted to be in film. I never did, but I was like, this is an outlet I can use for that. And so, yeah, pretty much that's why we started it and why we started doing it.
Yeah. Well, now you said you always wanted to do something with film. Did you or Angie have any
Mhm.
sort of background in content creation, either whether it be, like how did you figure out what you needed to purchase, how to edit videos? Is that something you just had to pick up and learn on your own when you decided to do this?
Yeah, so not to get like too emotional about, my past life and things, but my brother and I actually made short films together. And we have a YouTube channel and it's out there somewhere. I'm sure out there videos are somewhere. And we worked on it together. He passed away back in 2019. And so then I was just like, we had won a couple of film festivals in Los Angeles
Wow.
and stuff like that with what we were doing. And if you go watch them now, I mean, they're terrible. They're awful. How we won, I don't know. But so I really didn't have an idea of what I needed to purchase. I knew that I needed a full frame camera. I knew that I needed some kind of microphone and didn't. And honestly, I mean, people like Justine on YouTube, that was someone that I watched and learned from.
Yeah.
People like the Tim Tracker. I mean, I found out what he used. I talked to him in person about it. So I really didn't know much. But now it's like, if you ask me camera stuff, I'm not like the greatest, but I know to get enough to get myself in trouble, as they
Yeah.
say. So, I mean, I love it now. Like it's like my thing. I always have to have like the details. I'll ask other vloggers all the time, like, what camera are you using? I don't know. It's just this Sony. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I know that's as far as the conversation's going to go at that point, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
know, I mean, it takes, I think, a love on that side of things as well to do
Mhm.
this type of thing. It's one thing just to say, well, I love theme parks and I want to video them and talk about them, but I think you have to
Right.
have, a love for the process as well, because it is so
Yeah.
daunting and time
Yes.
consuming,
Yeah.
and I've certainly found myself in that position a lot. You go for a weekend, you don't really have a plan, you film nonstop, you get home, you're so excited, and then you start to dive
Mhm.
into the content and you're like, oh, this is just too daunting. Like, but if you have a love
Yeah.
for it, if you
Yeah.
enjoy putting those things
Mhm.
together,
Yeah.
so what is your process for content creation? Like, for
Yeah.
example, okay, we'll give, maybe you can give two examples. One most recently, I know you have a video on yesterday's announcement coming out of D23 about the
Mhm.
fact that Rivers of America, Tom Sawyer's Island, will be replaced by Cars Land. You
Mhm.
came out with a video on that. So I guess first, kind of, what is the process for creating something like that? Or is there much
Mhm.
of one? Because I know there's a quickness to getting it out compared
Yeah.
to, what is the process, for example, Food and Wine coming up, in the way that you'll cover and kind of storyboard that? So what does your
Yeah.
creative process look like for creating these videos?
So, I mean, you're right. It really depends on the situation of what's going on with that. Like, I will say for Food and Wine, I will prepare starting today for that. And that sounds, maybe crazy to some people, but like that's just how my brain works. And I have to have a, when it comes to huge festivals and stuff like that, I have to have a plan. If
Yeah.
I don't have a plan, I'm standing there with my wife at my left side saying, "What are we doing? What are we doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know." So yeah, I'll start planning probably today since that dropped today. All the information on the food dropped today. But like videos like I did yesterday with cars, I knew it was information that I needed to get out very quickly. What I'll do is I'll read a couple articles really fast, make sure I have it. And sometimes, depending on, in the world of YouTube, honestly, it's you got to be first,
Yeah.
and that's just sometimes I think quality suffers because of that. But in the the theme park world, it is you got to be first. So
Yeah.
sometimes I'll even just be like, hey, I just heard about this, and we'll talk about the article right here as a one take video.
Yeah.
So really depends. I mean, like the Disney festivals are huge. I also do Epic Universe updates a lot. I do construction updates for them. I do my research on those. I, take my time and figure that out. I'm a very busy person, so I don't have a lot of time to research, but what research I can do, I try. And of course, with, Halloween Horror Nights less than 3 weeks away right now, that is pretty much my focus right
Yeah.
now. That's pretty much all I'm thinking about of as far as filming goes and
Yeah.
what I'm going to do and how we're going to pull that video off. So yeah, it just really depends. Really depends.
Yeah.
And sometimes I won't even have an answer. Like today, John Self and I, who's been on your channel before or your podcast before, um, he said, "What are we doing today?" I said, "We're just walking around seeing what's new, what's been updated."
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just the plan. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, and I love that you bring all that up because I mean, and I'm the type I love behind the scenes type stuff. I love the way that things work, and hopefully a lot of our listeners do too, because it is so interesting to hear about all of the planning, the preparation. Once you're
Mhm.
done recording, like coming out of that and putting something together, because it's real easy for people to watch a 5 minute video and think that took
Yeah.
5 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and even if they think,
Yeah.
okay, well maybe it took like an hour to edit because it's got some extra stuff to it, but they don't think
Mhm.
about everything that went into the process before that. Like you said, going
Right.
through food and wine menus and starting to make a plan. Halloween
Mhm.
Horror Nights. So will you actually, for something like Halloween Horror Nights, as you prepare, are you jotting down like video ideas with titles very specifically, so you know that, all right, I'm going to just say get videos around each of the houses, the food, and you're actually breaking those down? Or is it a little bit more of just bullet points of, let me make sure I get this stuff? Because I find
Right.
for myself, and it's another reason selfishly I'm doing this series, is for me to learn from folks like
Mhm.
you who do it so well. I'm finding that if you don't almost have a storyboard, I'll get maybe home and I go, oh, I totally forgot to video that booth as I was walking up
Yeah.
to it, and get the sign or something. How
Right.
detailed are you getting with something like Halloween Horror Nights? And what are you working off while you're there?
So the way that I look at it is, this is going to sound maybe ridiculous to everyone else, but I look at Halloween Horror Nights as our channel Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I look at it as this is the big show. If you're a wrestling fan, it's our WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Like this is where it's at. And so I prepare for Halloween Horror Nights maybe February, March. I
Wow.
start getting ideas. Like I have some friends that make speculation maps, and none of this is official from Universal because they can change
Yeah.
very quickly, and they do. And that's why I like to make the videos talking about that. But that's a different subject. But I start planning for that for a while. But with this year, I can't go into many details about what our plans are, just because you know how the process works of
Yeah.
being on media lists and stuff like that. So I
Sure.
can't really, may or may not be on that for that. So I can't really talk much about it. But I do actually have several ideas of separate videos that I want to make for that. Last year, our Halloween Horror Nights video raked in, I think it was at 57 minutes
Wow.
long.
Yeah.
So it was a long video. And this year it'll probably be the same, to
Yeah.
be honest. But yeah, I mean, I pretty much have a plan of what I want to do. Now, am I a person that you mentioned storyboard. I love that you're mentioning that, but I don't do it.
Yeah.
I should, but honestly, like I try to make it feel more organic and more like, hey, we're here to do this, and we're not just we always start each video out. I feel like it's important. We've tried to dabble into daily vlogging, and we've tried to dabble into lifestyle vlogging, and it doesn't really work for us right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something that, I mean, I come home, I put the video together, and it works. So it's not like my lifestyle is super interesting, other than that. But we've tried different things, and the way we always try to present our videos is that, hey, like, this is why we're here. This is our mission for this video, and this is what you're going to see, throughout the video. So yeah, definitely have started planning for that. And I'm probably going to make notes today. I'm sure there'll be things that, it does turn out. The way I've figured it out is like, you can make notes all day long, but and that's where theme parks are really tough, is you can make notes all day long, but depending on the lighting, depending on, how the crowd levels are,
Yeah.
you might have to readjust what's going on and how you decide to shoot it. Because I think of things not just as like, oh, hey, here I am. I'm at Universal. Let's have some fun. I come in it with a artistic view, and I try to get a lot of B-roll. I try to make things as fancy, as they say, as I can, so I'm working, I'm learning. I'm not that great at it, but I'm learning, so.
I think you're killing it, man. And this will definitely be kind of a selfish question, because I'm wondering, what you just mentioned, B-roll, what's your process for gathering B-roll and organizing it? Do you, are there, like you said this morning, for example, you and Jon just kind of walked around, saw what was new, that might create your video. Do you have specific times and days that you say, all right, I'm going to go to Universal, or I'm going to go to a park at Disney, and all I'm going to do is walk around and get B-roll and then somehow organize it or catalog it for later use? Or is it more that you're getting that B-roll during the time you're doing it? So for example, you're doing, HHN, and you're just thinking, hey, let me make sure I get a whole bunch of extra shots in B-roll. Is there any sort of cataloging of that, or is it kind of go as you produce the videos?
I mean, I should probably take some days where I go out there and that's all I do is B-roll. I really don't have the time, and the way that I look at it is like, if I'm going to be at a theme park, I need to make a video. Consistency is key. Like, if people are starting a new YouTube channel and they're like, how do we get the views? I'm stuck at 25, 50 views. Like, consistency is key. That's what I've learned. And so that's how I kind of look at it, is like, my time is valuable. And I'm not saying that in a like stuck up way. It's just like, I go and get my B-roll during the shoot. So where it might take someone else an hour to film, it'll take me an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I feel like my process is pretty quick anyway. Like today, Jon and I were there an hour and a half. But it just depends on what I'm there for, what I'm getting. I know a lot of times Angie, my wife, she'll be like, you got the shot yet? I'm like, nope, give me one more. And I'm just standing there and I'm like pulling the camera back, moving it this way, doing all kinds of things. And people are looking at me like I'm crazy, so, and, so it's just, it's one of those things. I get the B-roll when I can. And sometimes I'll be at the parks with friends and I'll have my iPhone and I'll shoot something, but I'm never satisfied with that. So, I mean, so that's kind of what I do for that. It's just, I'm kind of sloppy that way. Like, I have a plan, but I don't, what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And what a lot of people don't realize too, is they watch, YouTubers and listen to podcasters and, read blogs and all, is that, and I don't know the percentage, but it is a very, very, very small percentage of people that do that full time. Yourself, myself, we work regular jobs. We have other things that we're doing. And so I think that's a lot of things that, a lot of time people don't understand that portion of it, is that, this is something that is considered usually partial hobby, but it's only a hobby because it's maybe not, paying for your living, but it is a lot of work. I mean, it's a ridiculous amount of work, right? I mean,
it's a busy hobby.
yeah,
It's like it's really to the point where it can't be your hobby. It has to be part of your life.
yeah,
Like if you're going to really dedicate it to that. I
yeah,
mean, I know there have been times where uh, I view it differently than I did before. Because when we first moved here, I was putting out 5 to 7 videos a week. Like
yeah.
I
Wow.
was excited to be here, and I was like, well, they say consistency is key, so let me put out 5 to 7. And then in my own personal life, it's like I don't have any time to do anything else. I don't
Yeah,
have time to sit and watch a movie with my wife or anything like that. So like you have to like balance it. So now I pretty much like have set days that I'll go. And but Angie knows and understands uh that it's part of our life. Like
yeah,
now it's part of that community that we try to build because uh we feel, going back to your first question, why we do it, we feel like it's very important to have, a couple's perspective of everything and be a real perspective
yeah.
of what's going on and just be ourselves. So we feel like that's important. And but yeah, it definitely has to be part of your life.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
It
Yeah.
is, would you say that's one of the hardest things about being a content creator is that kind of work life balance, not only when you're at home editing videos, but
Hmm.
in the parks as well? Do you make time to enjoy the parks for just being the parks as a guest, or is your work brain kind of always on and always going when you're there?
Well,
It's a tough one. It's a tough one.
yeah, I have started to learn to be just a husband at the theme park and
Yeah.
not a content creator.
Yeah.
Um, Recently on the weekends, except for this weekend, that's a bad example because we have so much going on. But usually on the weekends, we will go to the parks and I won't take anything except for my phone, and we'll just go and enjoy it. And a lot, we live literally probably about 4 to 7 minutes from Magic Kingdom,
Wow.
and so sometimes we'll just get a virtual queue for Guardians or Tiana's, whatever we can do, and or wherever we decide to go, and we'll just go do that, walk around for 30 minutes, and then be like, okay,
Yeah.
see ya. And sometimes that's just enough, and then we'll go shopping and try to have a bit of a normal life. But yeah, I mean, at the same time, it is really tough to turn that off sometimes. It's like because we were just at Universal this past weekend with one of my best friends, and he was visiting, and we walked around. They added new Halloween Horror Nights set pieces, and I'm like,
Like, oh no.
should I get my phone out? Should I make a video? And I was just like, you know what? The old me would have done it. The
Yeah.
me from like a year or two ago would have been like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry, babe. I've got to make a video now."
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a tough balance sometimes. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's one of those things where like the the pros and the cons of there being so many people creating content, like the pros are people are going to still get the information that they need, but then the con is, you want it to be from you. And
Right.
so I know how hard that can be of
Yeah.
trying to find
Right.
that balance and all. It like in the end with your YouTube channel and your social media, what are you and Angie hoping to accomplish with it? Like what's the goal?
Well, I mean, I would be lying if I was just going to sit on here and be like, well, we just want to make it a hobby and be part of our life.
Right. Oh yeah.
I mean, the goal eventually is to be our main source of income,
Yeah.
and to be able to do it full time.
Yeah.
We know that's a huge uphill battle, and we know that it's going to take a lot of time probably to do so. But I will say that when we moved down here, we had 125 subscribers, and today we're sitting at 9,500.
That's
So I
great.
mean, we've in just 2 years' time, we've really taken something where hardly anyone watched and really pushed that. But yeah, that is our goal, to eventually be able to provide a channel where that we do full time.
Yeah.
That's all we do for work. I, the job that we have. I mean, honestly, we say that now, but we will probably still stay at our job that we have because they've been so good to us and we
Yeah.
only worked in the evenings. So it's just one of those things like I see ourselves being full time, and then at the same time, I don't. I see us just having a normal job because YouTube is scary. YouTube is something that you can create a video, and for us, like we never want it to be about the money, but if YouTube's going to pay you, I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of cool that
Yeah.
they
Why
do
wouldn't
so.
you? Yeah.
Right.
100%.
But YouTube is scary because you can have a video that you think is going to do really well. It doesn't do as well as you would hope it would do, or vice versa. Like this one's going to stink, and then everyone loves it,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay, like what is that? So, yeah, I mean, overall, I think that's where we're kind of leaning towards, maybe eventually,
Yeah.
but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
see.
Well, anybody that's listening that wants to get into doing something like content creation, I mean, you're raising some really good points, with one of those being the consistency, and two of those being, to have that patience. You've continued to grow your channel because you're consistent and you're patient and you continue to put in the work and put out the videos. I mean, I know in podcasting specifically, I don't know what the stat is now, but it used to be that I think like 75% of podcasts didn't make it past 6 episodes or something, because they just kind of gave up. They were like, you don't see immediate results. And so I think having the love for it that you do is so important, along with that consistency and that patience and all. So yeah, bravo, man. I mean, you guys are killing it. That's just awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to the hat. That's all our
Okay.
fun content creation. I definitely learned a lot from you already, so I appreciate that. But yeah, we'll spend a little time going through these and just having a friendly conversation about a couple of these. So,
all right, sounds good.
First one, and this question probably comes really good off of the heels of the Horizons, Parks and Experience announcement and all the new stuff that's coming to Disney World. How do you feel about the current state of Disney parks? And of course, we can factor in these latest announcements, especially coming out of the closures from COVID. We've seen, I feel like in the past 4 years, almost more changes to the Disney parks than we did in the first, almost 50 years. How do you feel about the current state of the parks? And if you want to talk Epic Universe and what's going on down the road, we can do that as well.
Yeah, so I think it's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people are there. And I told Angie before D23, I said, they have to do something that's either going to blow people's minds or just satisfy enough to make everybody be quiet.
Yeah.
And I feel like they didn't do that. I feel like they announced enough. It satisfied me. I mean, like, let's just be honest. We were all hoping for a fifth gate. We were all, I don't really know what the theme would be or what they would do, because, people talk about Avengers Campus. They can't do that over here because Universal owns the rights over here. So that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But, so I feel like if they stick to what they're saying that they're going to do, that there are some positive changes on the horizon. I was one of the people that was, real. I was a big skeptic of Tiana's Bayou. Like, I didn't know how I would feel about it. And it has nothing, I just want to put this out. It has nothing to do with the political side of it or anything like that. It's just more along the lines of, okay, how are they going to pull this off? Are they going to do this the right way? And I feel like that they did a good job, other than it breaking down every 5 minutes or whatever. I feel like they did a good job with that, but I think I want to see more. I want to see. Okay, so I have a lot of people in our comments that'll say, okay, but Epic Universe, which is, if you don't know, is Universal's newest part that they're opening next year, it's going to make Disney scared. And I honestly don't think that they are. Yeah. I really don't. What's going to take for Disney to get scared is for people to stop going to Disney, and that's not going to happen. Yep. Just because of the scope of Disney World. Like, take away the 1 million resorts that they have around that you can stay at. Take away all that, and what do you have? You still have four great parks
Yeah.
that really the theming is so well done. I mean, it just really is. And like, I'm one of these. We call ourselves Switzerland. We're always in the middle.
Yeah.
We're always like, okay, well, Universal could have done this better. Well, Disney could have done this better. But we're never where we hate one and love the other.
Yeah.
And but I feel like that there is a downslope in the quality of some of the things that they're doing, and of course that has to do with the leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And I was excited when Iger was coming back, but I just don't know yet. I mean, I still like the guy.
Yeah.
I just don't know if that's the right choice for them right now. If you look at their films are just now starting to get back up and do better. But yeah, I mean, I want to see something. The concept art for villains really got me super excited.
Yeah.
The thing is as I heard our buddy John say today, DeMaro's let's move dirt versus the definition of let's move dirt versus his definition of let's move dirt is two different things.
Yeah.
So I think I want to see construction walls up. I want to see it move on, and then I can decide whether whether I think they're going to do that. Now, as far as like this debate of Epic Universe, like I mentioned a second ago, Epic Universe is going to change the game for sure.
Yeah.
In Orlando, it's going to change the game. I'm excited about it. But yeah, as far as Disney goes, I think it's okay. I just think they need to, honestly, probably just a change in leadership and a change in direction.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree on all those points, even coming down to kind of the, the air quote battle between Disney and Universal. And, I think Disney for me, Disney World, at least is specifically, it's always been a business, obviously, but it didn't feel like it up until 4 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it didn't feel like a business. It really felt like they were out to give you the most magical experience. And not that that's not still, one of their bullet points, but it feels so much more like the bottom line. And, the guy, with the Excel spreadsheet seems to be making all the decisions, much more.
Yeah.
And then, I got extremely excited about the announcements, but we've seen so much. And then you look at the art, right? So we can look at the Villains Land art.
Right.
All right. In the left, hidden behind there is some sort of roller coaster track. Okay. So we're getting a roller coaster, and over to the right, we got a castle in the middle, and then over on the right, we got something maybe could potentially be like a dark ride. This is awesome. And in 5 years from now, we could have a coaster. We could not have a coaster.
Right.
And you're so much more involved in the Universal world, especially with making videos on updates of Epic Universe and all. I think, and tell me if I'm wrong and how it works in the Universal space, Disney fans and Disney in general has such a target on its back that people will take a look at that Disney concept art, and in a year from now, when it's changed, that's the first thing they'll point out is, hey, we saw this little building over here that looked like it was going to be a restaurant in that concept art. Where is it? We're mad. You never deliver what you promised.
Yeah.
Does the same thing happen with Universal? Or, concept art from years ago when Epic was first announced, with that big overview? Are people ripping that apart and saying, well, you're not giving us what you said the way that they do Disney? Or is Universal just a different beast?
It is a different beast. I will say that. I will also say, and I mean, I can't go back and think about every piece of concept art that I've ever seen for old attractions, But I will say that I was sent a picture of the Minions area, the new Minions land in Universal. I was sent that picture probably a year before, or 6 months to a year before it even had paint on the building.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? If they pull that off, that would be cool. I probably shouldn't even mention that I got sent that, but I did. And it turned out exactly like the first concept art that I saw.
Wow.
Exactly like that. And then with Epic Universe, everything that I have seen looks just like the concept art. So I feel like that is where Disney does get attacked, because it's like, I've seen so much on X, like, there was like this big tree that was supposed to be on Tiana's Bayou, right? At
Yeah.
the top, I think. They didn't end up doing that, or maybe they'll install it later or whatever. They didn't end up doing that. But a lot of people tore that apart.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, well, where's the tree? And I'm
Yeah.
like, come on, guys. Like, it's a tree, like, so I do think Disney doesn't get a fair look at those things. What it is like, this is the process in my mind that I've started to tell people is, I living here and going like 2 to 3 times a week whenever my schedule allows. I used to be so annoyed with just people in general because I'm not a huge people person. You wouldn't know that talking to me, but like I like my comfort, I like whatever. And I was at Magic Kingdom one day and I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm gonna stop being like, why are these people standing over here? Why are they doing this? And just kind of take it in.
Yeah.
We as Disney fans and Universal fans, we're spoiled because we get to go a lot. There's a lot of families that do not get to go but once in their lifetime. So to them, oh, this Tron ride is amazing. Yeah, it's only 90 seconds, but it's awesome. This Tiana's Bayou is really cool because Tiana is my favorite character, and so I think that we're a little on either side. We are a little too critical of what creative is doing, and yeah, we want to see things. I mean, I want to see a full-fledged Star Wars land, not just Galaxy's Edge. I want to see it pushed out and be a lot larger. Don't have to replace anything other than maybe that Star Cruiser back there. But other than that, I mean, yeah, I think we're too critical sometimes. I really think so.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I knew I was going to like you, but this is right on point. You have so much of the same thoughts I have. And I love that you bring that up about the average guest, because again, us as podcasters and vloggers and, writers and all, it's real easy to just take everything for granted. And you're right. The average park goer that's there, they're not going to give a crap in 5 years that there's no Rivers of America or Tom Sawyer Island. They're not going to even know it existed. They're going to be thrilled that, their little kids get to go to Cars Land that, they grew up watching or whatever. And so I think that part is so easy to be jaded as like creators and people that are fortunate enough to go all the time.
And that's the thing too, is I saw somebody say, well, I guess all the Tom Sawyer fans came out all of a sudden, like, like they're out here to represent Tom Sawyer Island. And it's like, I was talking with a friend of mine today and I said, when's the last time we've gone over there?
I know.
And it's like, trust me, I love Universal. But they've gotten rid of rides like Jaws, Confrontation, huge rides from the 90s, and where Disney hasn't touched certain things like that. And it's like Universal was like almost ahead of the curve of like, hey, we're going to get rid of this great attraction. But that's where Universal, I think, like kind of, I'm not saying that they do it better, but they just have a way of like, hey, like we're expanding, we're changing, like Shrek 4D. Okay, who watches Shrek 4D anymore? Like the wait time's 5 minutes. We need to give somebody something that we want the wait times, because you got to really think about the way theme parks think about things. Yeah. They look at those wait times. And if those wait times are a walk on to 10 minutes all the time, they're going to be like, okay, what can we do to bring more traction to this part of the park?
Yeah.
And really, that's what it is.
Yeah.
There's so many times that I've walked over to Tom Sawyer Island or in that area or Rivers of America, and there's a good crowd on Rivers of America, right, in that area, but it's not super crowded. Yeah. So what can they do to bring something that, like you said, that kids will love? Cars. It's a huge thing. It's going to do really well at the park.
Oh, yeah.
It'll do really well.
Yeah. It is. And and Disney, I think, is definitely looking at that point where they hold on to a lot of nostalgia. Like you said, there's still a lot of stuff that's there, that's been there forever, even from, like Magic Kingdom opening in 71. but they're looking at designing the parks and putting in new things for future generations. Not
Right.
the 44-year-old guy who does a Disney podcast, and sits in front of a
Right.
keyboard going, "Don't take away Muppet Vision 3D. It's my favorite thing that I go to once a year."
Dude,
like
it's coming. It's coming.
It is.
It's coming.
And I do.
Yeah.
I love it. But,
Yeah.
as locals and folks that are going all the time, we're, if we were going to Muppets every single trip, then we wouldn't be worried about Muppets going somewhere. If we were going to Tom Sawyer Island every single trip, we wouldn't worry about it going somewhere. And Universal, another thing they do a great job of, I think, when you mentioned Shrek 4D, is they increased the capacity in that area by, I don't even know how much, but barely increased the time that people have to spend. With Minion Blast, because it's that, kind of walk through attraction that moves people through. I personally don't think I've seen it above 15 minutes, as a wait time since it
Probably
opened.
not. Yeah, probably not.
And
yeah.
so now they've gone, all right, we had an area that many people weren't going to, had low wait times. Now we have an area that still has fairly low wait times. It is better for guest satisfaction, and we're still getting people through so they can go, do other rides and spend money elsewhere. So it's an interesting thing.
That Minion Minion Mayhem, it still has unbelievable wait times.
It's the Peter Pan's flight of Universal to me. You know what I mean?
And it doesn't it helps the fact that it's right there at the front of the park. It's the first 2 Minions attractions you choose from right away, so
it's big and shiny and has this beautiful facade, and it's very welcoming, and you're like, what is in there? And we've only done it once, in the past 4 years. We've gone in there, and I was like, okay, that's enough for me. But every time I walk past it, 60 minutes, man, they're in there all the time. All right. So if you could have any job at the theme parks, be it Disney World or Universal, what would you choose? What would you want your job to be at one of those parks?
That's an easy one. Creative.
Yeah. It sounds like it with you.
Easily creative. There's so many things that I see. I'm like, oh, they should do this or they should do that, So easy, creative.
Yeah.
I mean,
I love that.
That's
You'd be good at it. All right, we'll go again, Disney or Universal. What's a current IP that is not in the parks that you would love to see brought to life?
Easy question as well. There's a rumor going around that it may or may not be true, that Universal has maybe obtained the rights to Lord of the Rings.
Ooh.
And there is a nice plot of land, supposedly. I don't know anything officially, but there's a nice plot of land in Epic Universe that it's like 20 to 25 acres.
Jeez.
That could easily fit that in there.
Yeah. I mean, that whole thing is built for expansion. That's what's incredible about Epic. I mean, what we're seeing when it opens next year is not nearly what it's going to be, a decade or whatever from now. It's going to be insane. And I've got a good friend, Landon, that will love your answer more than anything, because he is a Lord of the Rings fanatic. I've never seen them. So hopefully you'll still want to be friends. Yeah. I'm a weird guy when it comes to those things. Growing up, I wasn't big into fantasy sci-fi. I was, outside of, watching Rambo, which obviously isn't technically realistic, but it couldn't exist in our world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was always that type. I wasn't big into sci-fi fantasy. I mean, shoot, I didn't watch any of the Harry Potter films until we became Universal APs back in June of 2020. And I was like, well, I should probably watch these things. And that was probably what really got me into enjoying more of the live action fantasy sci-fi type of things, that and the MCU. And, I was always big, into Batman and Iron Man, because in my mind, those could exist in our world. Right.
Yeah.
But, Thor couldn't. And so I've definitely expanded. So I'm going to give Lord of the Rings a try.
Yeah.
I promise.
That's really, honestly, that's where my love of filmmaking comes from, is because I grew up in a super religious house. We were not allowed to do anything. We couldn't watch anything. And my mom had heard that J.R.R. Tolkien, who wrote the books, was a Catholic. And she was like, you know what? I don't think there's anything that, he's going to try to promote the dark side or Satan or whatever. She's like, so I'll let you watch it. I watched it and I was scared to death the first time. I was like, I've never been allowed to watch anything like this. And as I fell in love with it, I was like, you know what? And then they came out with 3 extended versions, and on the extended versions, they have, I think each movie has close to 9 hours of behind the scenes stuff. I watched all of that. I've watched it several times since then, like probably about 1,000,000 times since then.
Wow.
And that's just where my love for filmmaking came from. So yeah, I learned a lot from that too. So it's just crazy.
That's so cool. All right. I've got a long list of movies I've never seen. I'll put all those on it. I promise. For you and Landon, I'll do it. Let's see what else we got in the hat here. I love this question, especially because you kind of split your time as a pass holder between, Universal and Disney. And of course, SeaWorld, feel free to talk about as well. In those parks, or at those resorts, do you feel valued as an annual pass holder?
That's a really good question. With someone that always tries to be Switzerland, let me try to explain it in a way that's okay. So when I go to Universal, I feel at home.
Yeah.
I feel like it's laid back and there's like a chill vibe to Universal. Where Disney, I feel like, don't get me wrong, guys, I love Disney, but I feel like there's a lot of rules and there's a lot of things that, there's just so many rules at Disney World. So with that being said, as a Disney pass holder, kind of feel valued. Like tomorrow I'm going to Animal Kingdom to pick up the new magnet that's coming out.
Heck yeah.
And I love stuff like that, but and then of course when they do like their 30% off deals, I love that. It's like the best thing. But as a pass holder, I feel the better value, honestly, sometimes is Universal.
Yeah.
We have the Premier Pass, and we get free valet with that. And let me tell you, just set yourself a little bit of tip money aside each time.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It is one of the most unbelievable perks, especially with their security system.
Yes.
At Disney, that's not going to really help you, but man, at Universal, trying to get through security to City Walk and the 2 parks, and you go through that valet. Oh, it's the best. Yeah.
We could do a whole podcast on Universal versus Disney security. I have so many stories that I could tell you that would probably take out 3 hours. But I mean, like, you got to look at it like it's really tough. But you mentioned SeaWorld.
Yeah.
SeaWorld has a lot of good perks as well. They have free money they give you all the time, free $10, stuff like that. I just don't go there as much. I do sometimes, but I just feel like, honestly, like even though we have a SeaWorld annual pass, I don't feel like there's enough value of repeat thing. I don't know.
Yeah. That makes sense. I think Disney's coming back around. I mean, again, this is one of those things. I just refer to everything kind of as pre-COVID and post-COVID because Disney took the opportunity to use those park closures to implement tons of stuff they've been planning for years. COVID didn't cause, free fast pass to go away. It didn't cause Magical Express to go away. All that stuff, I guarantee, was on the whiteboard somewhere. And this was like, now's the time to do it. And not only can we do it, it's a good timing for it, but let's bring in this villain, Chapek, and he's going to do it for us. And then he's going to bounce, I think he came in and was like, where do I sign? I'll be the villain. How much are you going to pay me? But I felt like, and we're no longer Universal pass holders. I'm hoping to look at bringing that back on. It's been a couple months. Just from a financial standpoint, we had to get rid of them. But I always felt as though Universal put pass holders first. And then they kind of looked at, how do we appease the rest of the guests? And they do a wonderful job of it. I feel like Disney just flip-flops that. They're so focused on that average guest, that's only coming once a year or once every 5 years, that they're missing out on the gold that is right in front of him. that are pass holders like us that go 2 and 3 times a week. And
Well, a good example of that is the fact of like Universal. They don't do it all the time, but they will have pass holder days, which they're
yeah,
actually about to start on Thursday.
yeah,
And they have pass holder nights coming up this weekend, which I'm excited about. And but what they'll do is they'll say, like, as a pass holder, they don't do it at both parks. I don't know their schedule, but I know that most of the time it's over at Islands of Adventure, which is the more popular park just by rides, I feel
hmm
like. That's probably a controversial thing that I just said, but
I'll agree
I
with
mean,
you.
you got the Hagrid's and
Yep.
Velocicoaster. You can get in at 8:30 over, as long as you're Premier Pass holder. You can get in at 8:30 over at Islands of Adventure. Disney World, you cannot get in early unless you are a resort guest.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one thing they could add that's a little more value. And listen, I get it from a financial stance. Like they make more money off of resort guests than they do pass holders.
Yeah.
They just do. But I feel like if they added those little perks like that, and a lot of times as pass holders, we can be a little uppity about
Sure.
things
Oh,
and
sure.
just be like, I'm a pass holder.
Yeah.
Universal has a video. I don't know if you've seen it. It's hilarious. It's like, it's okay. I'm a pass holder,
Yes.
and
Yes,
it's
I love it.
so funny, and, but Universal acknowledges that and they embrace that. They know people are going to get upset about certain decisions, but they kind of just embrace it and go with it. And that's what I love about it. I think it's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, they know how to make fun of themselves. They know how to
Yeah.
kind of shine that light
Yeah.
on themselves, which I think they do
Yeah.
such a wonderful job of. We'll get into one more because I do want to be, conscious of your time. What do you think about the term Disney adult? And how come nobody uses the term Universal adult or SeaWorld adult or any other adult, right?
They should.
I know.
Okay, so the term Disney adult, I mean, it's the truth. I mean, we're going to Disney and we're adults.
Yep.
The whole aesthetic of, hey, like I see this a lot online. Why do you care so much about a theme park that's for kids? Actually, if you go back and listen to what Walt Disney was saying, he was making it for everyone, not just the kids, because he wanted to create a place where everyone could have fun and enjoy stuff together. So that's always my answer to that. It's like, why are you being such a stupid Disney adult? I'm like, no, it's like, but both sides have their people that are a bit extreme about things. And I think there is a negative connotation with Disney adult. I think, especially on TikTok and stuff like that, we see the videos of people crying at the castle. And what's funny about that is a lot of it was just a joke and people were just capitalizing on the trend,
Sure.
but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with people calling me that, I guess I don't really see it as a negative thing. I'm just like,
Yeah.
whatever. I'm blessed enough to live here and to go. I couldn't have done this 5 years ago, but now I can, kind of thing. So
Heck yeah.
yeah. What do you think about it? What is your take on it?
I mean, in my opinion, and I've come a long way in my lifetime, especially over the past decade or so, probably, people should do whatever makes them happy as long as it doesn't impede on, just say, other people's vacations. If we're using those, for example, somebody who sees the castle and wants to just break out into tears because they're so emotionally moved has nothing to do with me.
Right.
So why would I put that down or care about it?
Right.
Why would I care if somebody chooses to go to all their vacations at Disney or Universal? I'm one of those people, but again, as long as it's not impeding on other people's, time and money that they're spending there, why would I care? I don't care if somebody wants to Disney bound and they want to collect ears. I collect plenty of Disney things. And I guarantee anybody who saw my life on paper, I mean, you look around this office, would be like, what a crazy Disney adult.
Yeah.
And maybe I am, I don't know. I probably am to some people, but I
Hey, I
think
mean, I got Figment back here,
100, yeah,
so
100%. And I've always brought this up, I mean, I've got people, friends, we're 20, 30 minutes from the beach, right? And
Mhm.
I've got friends that will go to the beach every Saturday, every Sunday. They'll spend 8 hours there. And I'm like,
Right,
good for them. They'll know all
right.
the restaurants. They'll, buy bathing suits for every trip they got. Like they'll do all this
Hmm.
stuff. And not once am I like, what a weird beach adult, like what? That's so
No,
strange. It's kind
I
of
mean,
weird.
I have friends that they go karaoke every weekend.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, I love
that's
that.
their
That's great.
thing.
Yeah.
Like, who do we call them? Karaoke adults. I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, I think I will say, in adding on to this, not really shifting the conversation, but it's kind of the same thing. Is a lot of times, uh, Disney vloggers get that same like thing from people.
Mhm.
They'll see anybody with the camera. I was
Yeah.
just at Hollywood Studios 2 days ago, and I only took my iPhone because I was just trying to get in and out real quick. And I heard someone behind me say, "Oh gosh, there's another vlogger,"
Yeah.
and I'm just like, "Hey, how you doing?" Um, and I think that that's something too that as long as you're not like overstepping your bounds and getting in people's space,
Yeah.
I try to be super respectful to people.
Yeah.
Like I understand. I've seen Happily Ever After 100 times, probably more than that. Like, but I'm not going to get upset if someone behind me is like, "Hey, can you put your camera down a little
Right.
bit? 'Cause we can't see."
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think in what I do and stuff, I think there is a negative kind of feeling towards Disney vloggers sometimes,
Yeah.
and maybe some of it's justified. I don't know. I mean,
Sure.
I don't interact with anyone that I think is, or I haven't been around anyone, I should say, that's been obnoxious to where, I've heard some really good stories from some of my friends that have literally, I don't want to say who that is because that's their story to tell, but kind of come into encounters where people have encountered them and say, "Hey, you suck."
Jeez.
And almost get physical with them. And
That's
I don't
insane.
understand that.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it. As like, I never want to get to that. We talked about maybe doing YouTube full time. That makes me question whether I want to get,
Oh, yeah.
you know, whether I want to do it full time or
Yeah.
not. But it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think the unfortunate thing and just life in general, I mean, this is, outside of theme parks and vlogging or podcasting or whatever, is just, the negative gets heightened. That's the stuff that
Mhm.
makes it out there. So all you need is to see, one negative interaction with a vlogger or, a Disney adult or a pass holder to go viral, and everybody's kind of painted that way. And
Yeah.
again, that goes well beyond theme parks. That's anything,
Yeah. Right.
and so I
Hmm.
think that's where a lot of that issue comes from, especially going back to Disney adults is, you have folks that, see some of these videos that, yeah, probably you and I look at and are like, oh, all right, that person's a little crazy, and that's what
Yeah.
gets highlighted and that's what gets heightened,
Yeah.
for the whole world to see. So it's,
But yeah, you're right. And in the stories that are really mean something, uh, you know, don't get highlighted as much. Like we're
yeah,
always, that's the thing, is like we live in a negative world. Like we
yeah,
really do. Anything that's negative, we want to put at the forefront, you know. No one hears about the stories, the special moments of, like I was at Disney a couple of weeks ago and I wanted to just buy, I forget what it was. I think it was just like a soda. This is probably longer than that long ago. Guy just hands me a cup and says, "Have a magical day."
yeah,
It's like moments like that, it's like without having, well, I should clarify, I didn't have to pay for it. But moments like that, little special moments of people that never get to go,
yeah.
like they never get to go and are there. So I think as like entitled Disney adult, that's different
That's a good way to
than
put it.
being a Disney adult,
Yep.
So we were just at Universal this last week, and we had people that were quoting the ride back to us. We didn't mind; we thought it was funny, but I can see where that could ruin someone's
Yeah.
experience. Going to the park for the first time. There's times I've rode Haunted Mansion, and I've just kind of softly just
Oh yeah.
welcome, foolish mortal, and just kind
It's
of to
hard not
myself.
to. Yeah.
It's hard not to,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think there is a difference between Disney adult and entitled Disney adult. And the entitled ones, I mean, whatever. I mean, they feel the way that they feel, and though there's always going to be, like you said, no matter what medium, theme parks, film industry, music, there's always going to be people that gatekeep.
Yeah.
And another thing with that is, like, one of our biggest thing is what I like to call theme park tribalism. Like, you can love both. You don't have to hate one or love the other, or just think, that's okay. This one's not that great. For me, they're both 50-50, and SeaWorld is kind of down a little bit lower, but that's just me. And so tribalism is what ruining fandom.
Yeah, I know.
So we can't do that. We have to be positive and let everyone, if everyone's excited about a new troll coaster over at Universal, let them be excited about it. If people are excited about, the new Monsters Inc. land coming, let them be excited. Just have fun with it and enjoy it. Remember, it's a theme park. It's not anything that's really going to affect your life.
Yeah, it's not life or death. Yep.
Right.
I love that, man. Well, I love to close out with a couple rapid fire questions.
Sure.
Of course, your answers, pull them from Disney World or Universal Orlando, and that's cool. Let's start off with, what is your favorite park snack?
Oh man, I don't know if that's rapid fire now. We got to think about that. I'll just go with Dole Whip.
Okay.
I'll go with the classic. Yeah.
All right. Between the Orlando theme parks, what is your favorite individual park?
Epcot.
Okay. Awesome. I love it. Favorite overall attraction?
It changes, but right now, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind.
Yep. Where is your favorite quick service restaurant?
Yeah. Well, Flame Tree Barbecue.
Okay.
I don't know why John gives me a hard time about those barbecue fries.
Yeah.
But I love it.
Okay.
I love it. It's so
All
good.
right. How about
So
your favorite
good.
table service or sit down?
Finnegan's at Universal.
Okay. I gotta go.
Yeah.
I gotta go back there.
Yeah.
We only had one like sit down dining experience, and it was very bad. And of course, talking to John, he's like, well, you went on a Thursday at 8 p.m. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he's like, if you go on this day at this time, I'm like, all right.
Hey, I will say really quick about Finnegan's is
Yeah.
my wife has gallbladder issues.
Uh-huh.
And so they are really good about working with you with your dietary needs.
Yeah.
They literally, like, she got like a chicken salad, and they usually like put butter on it. They made sure they cooked it separately and whatever. And they will always be very, very
That's
good
awesome.
to me. So
Yeah, we did the Orlando Informer meetup this past weekend, and
Yeah.
Finnegan's was doing their buffalo wings, and I only had one because I was literally trying to eat everything I could. But I'll tell you, like, it is one of the best just standard buffalo wings I've ever had. Like, as soon as I took
Yeah.
a bite, I told Rhonda, I was like, I'm just immediately transported back to like some bar and grill back in Baltimore, with my
Yeah.
buddies, watching live music, drinking like Bud Light pitchers, and eating wings.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this is absolute perfection. So
Did
yeah, we'll have to
did
go
they
back
have the
and try.
buffalo mac and cheese?
Let's see. I'm trying to think if it was the buffalo mac and cheese. No, it was a different kind.
Okay.
I have the book in front, or I have the pamphlet in front of me. Let me see if I can find it real quick, because I got that as well, and it was absolutely outstanding.
Yeah. So they don't serve that at the normal restaurant. They only do it at the Orlando Informer meetups. I don't know
okay, then
why.
that must have been what it was.
But oh man,
know I loved
it's
it.
the best thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So good.
awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Final one. What is your favorite hotel/resort?
You had to ask that.
That's another one I feel like can vary, Like for me, it's sometimes like
Yeah.
the one I'm going to next, or the one I just came from a lot of times.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say Wilderness Lodge overall.
I love that answer. Yeah.
It's because I love the aesthetic of it.
Mhm.
It feels like you're off the grid, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then you just get on a boat and whoop, there's a castle.
Boom.
You
Magic
know,
Kingdom.
so
Yeah.
it's amazing. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, man, Jon, thank you so much for your time. Go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you and Angie. Now's your time to promote whatever you want to promote, man.
Yeah, so you can find us on YouTube at Love Our Life. You can also type in Love Our Life Vlog. We did change it over, but we cover Universal and Disney videos mostly. We try to do 50-50. of everything. We do updates in the park, what's new, what's going on, and as well construction updates. You can also follow us on Instagram and X at Love Our Life Vlog and TikTok as well. I try to do TikTok, but it's whatever.
Yeah. I have to get, like, I've gone to my 14-year-old daughter and been like, how do I do this thing? Like, what am I had a buddy, do you know Gabe and Nikki from Theme Park Duo?
I don't know them. No.
Okay. Well,
not personally.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, Gabe had tagged me in some TikTok and was like, hey, you got to stitch a response. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. So I literally had to get my 14-year-old daughter to show me how to do it. Like, that one I can't figure out. We post stuff there because I'm like, well, if I'm going to create a reel for like Instagram, I'll just put it on TikTok. But yeah, I don't understand it either.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
My thing is I just forget to do it. I just, like, I'm so involved on this side because I do the editing and everything too. So it's like maybe Angie could do those. I don't know, but she doesn't have the time either. So.
Well, and it's another thing, that comes along with this is like, we're our business. You and Angie are your business. Rhonda and I are our business. I mean, I do social media for other people, but they pay for things to schedule into time thing. So I can go ahead and knock out a week worth of TikTok for other clients, but I can't afford it myself. So I'm like, I just got to do this natively, and I got to do it organically. Absolutely. So, but Jon, thank you so much, man. It's been so cool to get to meet you here over Zoom and chat with you. And I'm sure we'll be linking up in the parks. That'd be a blast. Probably at Food and Wine. We'll be there opening weekend. So we'll have to get together with that other Jon.
We'll have to see what he says. I'm sure he has an opinion.
I bet he does. All right, Jon. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you. Thanks, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again, Jon, for joining us on the Journey into Imagination series for this month. I hope you all enjoyed this episode as much as I did. And don't forget, if you want even more content, you can follow us on social at Main ST Magic or check us out on TikTok at MSM Podcast. Then if you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, you get brand new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. And finally, I know that myself, Rhonda, and I bet Jon would be super appreciative if you could please leave us a rating and review, because it really does help our show grow. That's all we've got. We'll see you real soon.
Jeremy and Rhonda are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts, Main Street Magic's bringing it home for you.